I don't know what are your thoughts on this, but I've been thinking about something lately. I came to the conclusion that when I was younger, let's say 14, 15, I actually knew what I wanted to do. And then as I grew older, I sort of ignored that or decided that it wasn't as important as it was. But now that I think about it again, I'm like, that is still what I want to do with my life. And when you think about that, you realize that when you're young, you have your own ideas, you have your own um, perception of reality and of yourself. But evidently, when you live in a society, you are bound to have that shift and have that influenced by the people that you encounter and the people that you live with on a daily basis. And it's really a shame that when you think about it, it's as if you decided to discard the ideas that you had growing up or the ideas that you inherently had just because they weren't conformant to what society wanted of you or what society expected of you. And I feel that in most cases, all of us get inclined to a certain thing growing old, and that thing tends to be coherent with different aspects of our personalities, tends to feel in a way natural to what you want to do. For example, when I was growing up, I always had an inclination to writing, to poetry, to reading, and at a certain point, I felt that writing or the things that I wrote were actually the essence of who I was, were the only artifact that would actually matter when eventually I pass away. And as I grew older, as I went on to college, I sort of decided to forget about that part about myself, and it was more about how much could I possibly make, what kind of social status I could have. But now that I started to rethink what mattered to me and to revisit really the thought that I used to have when I was younger, I felt that really even if I did manage to have all the things that society puts in your way and that society expects you to have, such as, getting rich, marrying someone of a certain quality to them, I realized that even if I managed to have all that, every everything would be good, but there would also be something missing in a way, and I would always keep looking for that missing part and wanting to complete the puzzle in a way. And sometimes I do envy people that could possibly only excel at one thing. They know that they could excel at one thing. I'm talking artists, um, people that are inherently good at one thing because in a way they don't choose what they're gonna do. It's already made for them. That's the only thing that they'll ever be good at. And in a way, our society is really pushing everyone to be a sort of know-it-all, and in a way, you're supposed to excel in many things in order to reach what you want, whether that's status, money, whatever, whether you want it or not. In a way, you're not actually learning a set of skills because you want to have that set of skills. No, you're learning that set of skills because if you don't have all of that, if you're not a jack of all crafts, you're really in a bad position when it comes to competition on the market. Whereas if you look at the past where most of the people just focused on one or two things and tried to excel at it on a lifetime, you realize that that's why we have what I call better art in the past. I mean, it's evident that we have better art because everyone was working, well, every known artist of the times that passed were really invested in their craft and spent the amount of hours, and they really spent lifetimes in order to perfect a certain technique, to perfect their own style, to perfect the artifacts that they left for us humans later. And in order to process all that, to process where we came from and where we're going as humans, it's certainly looking to me as if we're moving backwards in a way. And I say that because, in a way, also, the whole technology thingy, let's say, the age of technology is, of course, making our lives easier, but at the cost of making us look away at the things that really matter. And I'm sure that's, in a way, intentional because for as far as politics go, you don't want a nation that is actually smart enough or that is actually aware enough. You always want some sort of, for example, plague in a way, so that everyone is suffering enough to not be aware of the things that you're doing behind their backs. And the plague that we're having now is different from actual plagues because it's not something that you can see. It's not something that you can exactly fight with a pill or a medicine or whatever they used for plagues before. It's something you only notice if you look closely enough. If you look closely enough at what you're consuming, at the kind of thoughts that you're having. And what really surprises me at times when I talk to people my age or sometimes even older is that people don't even think about half of the things that bother me about our existence. And I'm not saying that in a way to express some sort of superiority. No, it's just that I feel that the necessity to think is missed now. People don't feel like they need to process the way they're perceiving the world anymore. At least I'm talking about the bigger majority of us. And in a way, you'd find that the majority, let's say 80% of us, are just going about their lives, following what society tells them to do, and possibly never waking up to the feeling of, oh, I haven't achieved anything of my own, or I haven't created something that would be remembered as my own in, I don't know, 20, 30 years after I die. And I am aware that that's not really what everyone wants to have, or that everyone is destined to have that sort of thing. But I certainly feel that if we all had an inclination to do so, we'd be living in a way better world. And you'd think that after the evolution we've had as humans and after the easy access that we've created to information, that we should be having way more inventions than we used to have in, um, say, in the 20th century, 19th century. But it's not. It's not the case because the number of people that are striving for success, the number of people that are striving to create something greater in their lifetime is significantly less. And that's of course because everyone is, or not everyone, but the majority are completely distracted 90% of the time and completely taken away by the dopamine that is served to us on daily basis. It's like everyone is drugged in a way, but they're not aware. You're not actually aware until someone takes away your phone. Really, like it's funny for me that people don't even realize sometimes the amount of time that they spend on their devices. And I'm not saying that I've never been there. I've been there, but I've always also thought of how that affected me and took action to counter attack that, let's say, if I may. And the reason all of this is important is because if you don't really realize the mechanisms of what forms your decisions, why you're doing what you're doing, what is stopping you from doing what you actually would want to do, or what you would regret not doing in 20, 30, 40 years, maybe even 5 if you're lucky enough, is because if you don't really know where it's coming from, you cannot work against it and you cannot protect yourself nor your loved ones against the disappointment of spending a lifetime scrolling on your phone and the rest working. So yeah, that's a little something to think about, and I sincerely hope that everyone ends up doing what they actually care about and that we all have as little a number of regrets as possible.